Welcome to the Million Vegan Grandmothers podcast. We are so absolutely over the top thrilled to have Aviram discuss with us, both my partner Paul and I, on Sadhana Forest. We've been studying and enjoying the progress the Sadhana Forest has made, in many different places like Kenya, Haiti, started out in Oroville, and now developing 3 forests in Meghalaya. So thank you, Aviram, for being here with us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Tammy. Thank you, Paul. It's a pleasure to be with you. I'm so happy, and I heard a lot about your work, and I'm excited to share whatever I can.
Great. We're going to jump right in because Aviram is going to be on our convergence coming up on January 25th and 26th, speaking about Sadhana Forest and the projects that are fully developed and continuing, and then the ones that are really needing some support right now to develop. So thank you. I would just like to begin by thanking you and your beautiful partner and your family for having this vision of a better world, really, that a place where people can live, a place where locals can stay and build relationship with their land. That's what you're providing for so many people. And the basis of it is compassion. So you talk about compassion versus, being a coercive, I'm getting my
coercive.
Yeah. Type of world, which is what we live in right now. We manipulate people to do things in a way to get them to be good workers. And Sadhana Forest is giving an example of groundbreaking and groundwork on how to build a relationship with the earth. So thank you. Could you speak a little bit about building the first Sadhana Forest and what that was like as a thriving eco community that provides compassion, not just for the animals and the land, but also for people? Lots and lots of people come through Sadhana Forest, thousands.
Yeah, so compassion for me is first listening and then loving. Listening is a very important part of everything that we do. And starting the first Sadhana Forest here in Oroville, where I'm talking to you from, in South India, was a deep process of listening. Before we moved to the land, we spent a lot of time in the villages around here, mainly asking people, what do they feel about this land? What do they feel about their lives? Where do they want to be in 10 or 20 or 30 years? What is their vision for their children? And just trying to understand if it's really relevant for us to come here and do this, or maybe they don't even want this. We can't assume everything, and that's why so that's why we have to listen. And this listening process brought us to a very deep relationship that is now 21 years old. It's been 21 years since we moved to this land on 19th December 2003. And now it's the villages and us are basically a big family. And so many relationships, so many support, mutual support, and a common goal. And the common goal became to create a forest here and to protect the land from encroachment, from grazing, from tree cutting, and we're doing it together. And it's beautiful. We are a little bit outside of Oroville, this international township that is here, and we were a bit, at times worried that we'll be a little bit isolated, but we are not isolated at all. We feel very supported, and we chose not to fence our forest. So it's not fenced. It's open for everyone to walk through or to even drive through and to enjoy and to picnic in and to enjoy the wildlife. And it's working really, really well. Instead of being apprehensive and immediately protective from people and seeing people as sort of the enemies of nature. We saw them as allies of nature, and that really worked out, both here and in later in Haiti, and then in Kenya, and then in Meghalaya, and then in Virudnagar, in South Tamil Nadu, and then in Namibia, where we are now working with the Himba tribe to do food forestry in their land. So, yeah.
Beautiful.
So
Thank
we
you.
moved here, my wife and my daughter and I, on a bullock cart that was carried by a tractor, not by a bull, because we're vegans, and an old bullock cart, and we lived on it for many, many months. And then we built a small hut, and that's where we live until now. And volunteers started coming, and now we host more than 1,500 people a year here, residential volunteers. We're one of the largest residential volunteer, environmental projects in the world. And we have 7 more campuses. 3 are in Northeast India, in Meghalaya. 1 is in the south, more south than us, south of a city called Madurai, a very big city in India. And 1 is in Haiti, 1 in Kenya, and 1 in Namibia. So 8 Sadhana Forests altogether as for now.
Amazing. So is Oroville the main training center for your compassion school?
The main what?
Training center. So do people come there often first to learn the basics, or do they learn right at the forest that you're building in? I'm not talking about Kenya or Haiti, but in India.
Yeah. So no, our campus is, we are hosting the people in our campus, not in Oroville, not in the center of Oroville. We have 195 spots for accommodation here. And we are totally off the grid. We are totally independent in terms of water. We're actually percolating about 50 times more water than we are extracting through our borehole. We have 166 species of trees from the tropical dry evergreen forest, the local forest of this area. 91 species of birds, many species of mammals and invertebrates, and yeah, huge wildlife. There was nothing here when we came, but it evolved, and now it's really a fun place to live. It's much cooler. It's very integrated. If you come out of this place where I'm talking to you, you'll see peacocks walking and boar running and jackals and foxes, and we all live together in a big mix, and we don't disturb each other, and it's really wonderful. Yeah. And they have their space more in the forest where we don't go so much in some areas. And we have our residential areas where they come gently. And we found a way to, to integrate and without disturbing each other and without frightening each other. Yeah.
Beautiful.
And the kids are, used to, people say, oh, boar, they're not dangerous. But we've never had any conflict with the boar, They're not domesticated in any way, but they're not aggressive towards us in any way, They're just living doing their own thing, and we're doing our own thing. And sometimes they stay under my hut because my hut is about 2 feet high from the ground. So they stay underneath our hut and doesn't disturb them and doesn't disturb us. Yeah.
It's very intriguing and beautiful how animals know when they're not going to be hunted or harmed.
Absolutely. And in Kenya, we had 12 elephants living around our campus. And it wasn't such a green place around our campus. I mean, there were places nearby that were much greener. And the team was all the time, thinking, why are they choosing to be near us? And I said, maybe it's because we're vegan and there is no smell of dead flesh, because they're very sentient beings, no? Elephants, and they're very sensitive to smell, and maybe they don't like the smell of dead animals, and they prefer our vicinity because it's only plants and that's what they're used to eat themselves. So maybe they feel safer in a place like this. And they stayed for many months, just around our campus, not disturbing us in any way, and but not moving away. Yeah. So a lot
What an
of
honor.
moments with animals, a lot of beautiful moments every single day. Yeah.
So magnificent. Oh, just, oh, would you like to ask anything?
Sure. I was wondering, I mean, it's clearly a beautiful space, um, a beautiful model of a society in miniature. And I'm just wondering whether there is for you a kind of and for the community an economic dimension to it. I understand that people come and they offer their services in exchange for food, and it's very much a non-monetary kind of economy. But I'm just wondering how Sadhana Forest is integrated and to what extent with the surrounding village. In other words, are there people in the village who are able to, in some way, um, get their livelihood or some portion of their livelihood from Sadhana Forest? Obviously, it's too small to really constitute a full self-sustaining economy, but to what degree are people in the area able to participate in that economy?
Yeah, so first of all, regarding the gift economy, we want to create this very strong association between veganism and kindness towards people, because there is many times a misunderstanding. I've been a vegan for over 25 years, and I've seen many, many people that think that vegans are kind towards animals, but not necessarily towards people. They see a lot of vegan businesses selling fancy cheeses and fake meats, and they think that veganism is kind of a business, and I want to associate it with kindness, because the same kindness that we feel towards animals, we also feel towards people, and that's sort of my goal, and people benefit from our being here in many ways. I mean, village people, they benefit because we have increased the water level here dramatically. I mean, this is worth a lot of money. Having a dry well in the summer doesn't help you to grow anything, doesn't help you to live here. And having water throughout the year is an amazing asset for people. Second is all the trees that are here. The area is much cooler now, also much safer because there are a lot of people staying here, and the area is not sort of abandoned. It was barren, and it was sometimes used for all kind of shady stuff because it was a no man's land, so to speak. And these are, you could say, direct or indirect benefits, as you want to call them, but there are other things that we do. For instance, we have Children's Land, a project where we work with local children, especially from the Dalit community, from the more underprivileged parts of society, with orphans, with gypsy kids. So this is one project. They come here, they enjoy amazing organic fruits and get to know about the trees and jump in the mud pool and swim and have a great time, and they love it. If the bus doesn't come to their school to take them, they riot, you know. They really wait for this day the entire week. And we have a project called the Tea Hut, Sadhana Forest Tea Hut, which we serve every day vegan tea and ladus. These are small round sweets which are also made from organic materials and really so tasty and so healthy. And we employ some people, but it's not huge amount of people. Because we simply don't have the funds to do that. We're not, big NGO. We're just a group of very motivated people. I myself never took a salary from Sadhana Forest. I'm working full-time for over 21 years. Most of our team has never taken even a stipend. Some of us take a small stipend and just our food and huts. So we don't have big money to flash around, but we try to employ people that really need it. Everywhere we are, we try to take people that are less educated, but very motivated, that are really nature lovers and would really give their heart to the project. And in all the 8 centers, we have local people who are just amazing and are very inspiring for our volunteer team and are inspiring for their, for their fellow villagers and tribe members. So yeah, there's a lot of reciprocation, but not so much of it is financial.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate what you said about, veganism not being a brand or a lifestyle, within a capitalist economy, but being an alternative to a capitalist economy. And that's why I was wondering to what extent you were able to kind of integrate the surrounding community into that very non-capitalist form of economic exchange. So thank you for that. It sounds like obviously any small, I don't know if you like the word experimental, but any small experimental community is going to have trouble being fully self-sustaining. And so you have to, of course, accommodate and have some sort of relationship with the surrounding economy. But to the extent that you're able to provide and also draw resources, human resources from the surrounding community, that's great. Yeah, thank you.
We don't want to be self-sustainable. We don't believe in self-sustainability. We believe in bioregional sustainability, in everybody being sustainable together rather than a bunch of people trying to just take care of themselves.
Sure.
So for instance, we don't grow a lot of our food in Sadhana Forest because there are many people that are willing to do that organically around us, and we can buy food from them, and we can use our 70 acres for something that they would never do, which is, an ecological restoration project that will keep that forest, the tropical dry evergreen forest that was nearly extinct in the time of colonialism, for hundreds of years or millennia. So I believe that we all play a role together rather than just have a sustainability within the fence, so to speak. That's our approach, and also we are hosting so many people. As I said, just here above 1,500 per year, and we have about 30 to 50,000 visitors every year coming to visit this place. I mean, today there were a few hundred people here that just walked in, met our welcomer, had a tour of the place, brushed the cows in the sanctuary, had a delicious vegan meal, unannounced, just came, and had great food and great experience and experienced what is to meet vegans, And for me, that's so important. Every time I see them walking in, I said, oh, that's so amazing that they're coming here. Who believed that, this was a barren land 21 years ago? Who believed that somebody would ever come here, And so many people are coming. It's unbelievable. People, local people and international people and people from all over India, people travel here come on a flight from Delhi and from Mumbai and from Calcutta, 2-3 hours to be with us for a few days, and come back to their home and make many valuable changes in their lives. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's amazing when people can live the example of what so many communities don't offer. Well, thank you, Paul, for joining us today. It was beautiful seeing you, and Avram and I will carry on. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Aviram.
Paul.
I have a million more questions, but for another day, maybe.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I'd love
Take
to.
care.
Yeah, have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, wow. Yes. So thank you again for this work. And can you tell us a little bit about some of the new projects that are coming up in Meghalaya? Is that how you pronounce it? Meaning the land of the of the clouds, or amongst the
I'm
clouds?
sorry, I just have something ringing all the time. I just want to disconnect that.
Yeah, that's
One
great.
second.
Well, whatever the tone of your ringtone is, we can't hear it. So that's just perfectly fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's wonderful. So, Meghalaya is a state in northeast India. And it's a small state. It's very mountainous. It's in the foothill of the Himalayas. It's the rainiest place on Earth. Actually, the most rainy place on Earth was Cherrapunji, which is in Meghalaya, and now is Mawsyn Ram, which is also in Meghalaya. And the amount of rainfall is just incredible. Over 10 meters of rain per year. Yeah. And people think that because there's so much rain, it's very easy to grow trees, but it's not so much the case, because what happened in Meghalaya is that there was severe deforestation, and because of the deforestation, the topsoil that used to absorb these huge amounts of rain has disappeared, has been washed into rivers. Some of it stayed in India, and some of it went to Bangladesh and through the rivers. And now we have a lot of very exposed mineral soils, and these soils don't absorb at all the rain. So we have a huge erosion continuing and continuing and continuing, and the water just flows into the river and disappears. And because there is so much of it, it's really difficult to do water conservation, because the structures that conserve the water have to be very robust, and they have to be planned for these amounts of rain. So we have to always allow overflow of the water, because you can't catch it all. You don't want 10 meters of rain, at every given spot in Meghalaya. People would be submerged and the trees would be submerged. So you need to let it go, but you need to let it go in a way that won't cause erosion, and would at the same time allow people to be near water. Because what happens in Meghalaya is that you have to walk a very long way to a water source, because the water drops near your house as rain, but then it travels down the hills to a river that might be 5 or 8 or 15 kilometers downslope. And then you have to go down with a bucket or with a can to the river, take the water, and bring it all the way up to your home, which is a huge schlep, that is very, very difficult, especially in the rain. There's some rainwater collection, but it's not very developed. So a lot of challenges, and we've been working there for almost 5 years now, and it's been extremely successful. So we started with a mobile project. We had 2 buses that we built them as homes for our volunteers, and our team traveled with these 2 buses for 2 years in many different villages, and did a lot of water conservation, tree planting, and training. And now we have 3 permanent centers in the 3 tribal regions of Meghalaya, Kasi, Garo, and Jaintia. And yeah, it's going super nice. Yeah. And we have a new project in Namibia as well, which is in the desert, not far from Angola, which is one of the driest places on earth, near the Namib Desert. So we have the whole spectrum, if you want. Yeah.
Wow, a huge opportunity to learn how to work with our waters.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
great
That was
amount.
the first for us because until Meghalaya, we've always worked in arid places and never had the chance to work in such a rainy area. But now we have learned a lot over those 5 years. Yeah.
And I'm quite certain that you have a great respect for water and understanding water and its power. Right.
Absolutely, absolutely. When I started this place in Sadhana Forest in Oroville, I used to the first thing I bought for myself was a huge torch that had like a 300-meter beam, and I would walk with it in the rain, and I would observe how the water is flowing on the land, and that was my water conservation school. Basically, I spent the entire first 3 monsoon seasons like in total 8 months, 9 months, walking in the rain with my flashlight and looking at how the water flows. And that's how I learned to create earth dams, to create gabions, to do percolation ponds, to do on contour swales, to do bunds. And, everything that we have learned from the water itself, not from books, not from courses, but from observation and listening to the water. So it was a fascinating time, and it still is. And now I tell my volunteers when they come, I tell them, forget about learning water conservation from me or from anyone. Just get a torch and go out there in the rain and see how it behaves. See how the water behaves in different slopes, on different soils, with going through different kinds of plants. Just observe and see. You will learn for yourself. You know, nothing can be learned better than from observation. Yeah.
Well, you give the meaning to carrying the torch a whole different value, not just walking through some Olympian park, but to actually walk on the earth and really listen and study. That is the real carrying of the torch. So I love it. I think we need to let people know that you've been carrying a torch for a very long time for
And
the earth.
always,
Yeah.
and always barefoot. I never walk on my land with sandals or with shoes. Always barefoot so you can be grounded, so you can feel the soil. There's so much information coming to you through the feet, not just through the eyes, but through the feet. There's so much information that is coming, and it's so lovely to walk here barefoot. Yeah.
Well, this is the disconnect that I sometimes have living in a quote unquote developed country. I really don't like that word very much, but I took my grandson out the other day and he said, well, just don't embarrass me, Oma. And it was so sad. Like he's only 8 years old and he's already, kind of bought into that. And I said, how did I embarrass you before? And he said, well, when you were standing at the bus stop with me barefoot and I had to tell my friends that you were earthing. And
That's beautiful. I
so in
hope this
the
will be
world,
the
that's an
best
embarrassing.
embarrassment of life. And that he will see what kind of value it will give him in his life. Um, a lot of my love for nature started when my mother used to take me on the weekends to day trips and sometimes on a full weekend of trips in nature. And that built this, endless love for nature that is still, sustaining me and supporting me all these years. And through hardship, I always have this memory of being a small child and just walking and enjoying every single grain of sand. So yeah.
Well, I grew up in Northern Ontario and my family struggled a little bit with some addiction issues. And so nature was my home. I've written about it quite extensively, growing up in the forest, and behind my house, there were lots of ponds, and I got to watch pollywogs, turn into tadpoles, frogs. And it gave me a sense that I would always be okay. It makes me a little teary just thinking that, one day that I read a book many years ago when I was a social worker and in early childhood about the lost child in the forest or the woods. I can't remember that. And what it would be like for children to be in nature, living a world of nature deprivation, and what that does to their brain. And so part of our convergence that we're having on the 25th and 26th is about rewilding. And I think about rewilding our children, what that would mean as a grandmother, and as a grandmother coming forth, a vegan grandmother coming forth, asking the other grandmothers to come with us. Paul said, I said in my sleep as clear as day the other night, I said, the grandmothers must get wise and find the children, come out of retirement. And we need to do that. We need to bring the grandmothers out of retirement, know that they're at the place in their life when they can do a lot of valuable movement for their children. And that's what veganism stands for, is a kinder, compassionate world. So can we end on that note of the children in Sadhana Forest? I'm so excited when I come in February for the festival, February 14th to 16th, I believe the Forest Festival is. Tell our listeners about the children that get to experience and be part of the earth of Sadhana Forest.
Yeah, I just wanted, before that, to quote one of my favorite environmentalists, Pierre Rabhi, that from France, that said, it's not about what a world will leave for our children. It's what children we will leave for the world.
Mm.
And I resonate with this so deeply, because I think this is our biggest mission, to leave children for the world that would be helpful and not destructive. The children in Sadhana Forest, they are unschooled. They don't go to school. They are learning naturally. They are very curious, and the reason they learn is because they're curious, not because somebody tells them to learn something. They don't have a curriculum. They just learn because they want to, and they join a lot of our seva, a lot of our selfless service in the forest and in the tea hut and in the children's land and everywhere else. They're helping us, and they're developing interest in specific things, and then we try to answer their questions to the best of our ability, but always in a way that is respectful of their boundaries, not answering with the whole lecture on a short question, but just answering what they want to know and waiting for the next question if they're interested to ask it. Yeah, they're very free. They feel very connected to the trees and to the animals. They're integrated. I don't know how to say that better, in a better word, but they're integrated into this place, and they take a lot of responsibility. So my elder daughter, for instance, at the age of 7 or 8, she could chef a meal for 100 people. She had a few volunteers helping her with the prep work, with the chopping, but she would chef the meal for 100 or more people. Because somebody needed to do it, and she had the experience, and other people just came and they didn't know how to do it. So she had to do it, and that's the situation of our kids. They're playful and happy, but they're also responsible and feel that they're responsible for the volunteers. They would say, "Oh, do you see this volunteer? They're struggling. They're not settling well here. Could you support them?" or I would like to try to support them, or, go and talk to them. They would go and talk to them and see what they can do to help them settle down. And, yeah, they're very integrated, and they love it here. Both of
They're
my
not
daughters are here now.
self-sustained. They're not self-sustained.
They're not self-sustained. No, they're really loving towards others. And I traveled with my younger daughter in Vienna, in Austria, and we were walking the street, and every day she saw a homeless person, sitting there. And it's not like India. It's very cold, and it's very harsh for people that are homeless. And she would tell me, okay, this homeless is here now. Let's go back to the room and make a sandwich for him. So we would go into a supermarket. We would buy, brown bread, organic bread, and different vegetables and stuff, and make a beautiful sandwich, and go back to the homeless person and give them. I think they ate the best sandwiches in their lives there. And it was beautiful for me to see that even in another environment, they feel responsible, not just in Sadhana Forest, but even in Vienna, in the street of a city that is unknown to her. She feels responsible for the well-being of people. It's in her, and yeah, it's heartwarming for a father. I'm sure you imagine. Yeah, yeah.
So incredible. It's who she is now. It's who she
Yeah.
is. Yeah, not something she does.
Yeah,
It's who she
absolutely.
is.
Absolutely. She
Yeah.
doesn't even think about it. It was clear to her that we have to change our route and make the sandwich. It was not something we were thinking whether we should do it or not. It was clear that we can't leave a hungry person in the cold. So we have to do something. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you for being part of a world where children are able to lead the way, even as young as 8 years old. Yeah. And knowing the food to feed people, right? The food to grow a compassionate society, one that includes all sentient beings. There's so much more we could talk about. Thank you very much for being here and your work. And if our listeners would like to support Sadhana Forest, all the donations go directly towards building land for human, earth, and animal liberation. Thank you very much, Aviram, for being here.
Yeah, very much. I love this conversation and enjoyed so much. And I am really looking forward to having you here in the festival, in the Vegan Forest Festival.
It's going to be an experience that I will probably want to move there after. Thank you very much.
So,